Good evening. Welcome to the school committee meeting for October 6, 2015. I just want to let everyone know that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded for local cable television. Can we please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. The first item on our agenda are the minutes presented for approval from our last meeting. Does anyone have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes from the meeting September 12th,
15th.
2015.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the next item is the student advisory report. And Kylie Chow, is she here? Is here to.
Oh, perfect timing.
There we go.
That's
That's
okay.
okay. Welcome, Kylie. Thank you for coming. Sorry, take a deep breath. It's all right. Okay.
So, hello. I'm happy to announce that since the last time I spoke, I talked to you guys about the t-shirt selling that we were going to do for the Tropiano family, and we successfully raised $1,760. So, sorry, breathing so quickly. So that all that money is going towards the Sonny Tropiano scholarship. So we were very proud about that. And this Friday we have the club fair and field day, which it's the first time that we've done them on the same day. So the whole school is very excited for that. The club fair is always just a great time. Everyone, all the freshmen can see everything that's offered here. And yeah, the sports teams are off to a good start. The football team is doing really well. Next Friday, we have a bake sale to help raise money for the new water fountain that we want to put in because the other one has been so successful and has saved a lot of plastic from being used. So that's another task that we're undertaking. Yeah, I think, yeah.
All right, well, thank you. I know that a handful of freshmen I know are very excited for this Friday and the club, to find out about all the clubs. So, sorry to rush you. I hope your meet was good.
I'm sorry for being late.
No problem.
You were right on time.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is a glimpse into the classroom, science classrooms.
So we are on our second year of showing what we are doing in our classrooms, and our science department is up first. And just a reminder, the reason why we are doing this is so that we can all know and understand what it looks like to be working on one of the standards and one of the strands from kindergarten or from the elementary school all the way through to the high school 12th grade. And we thought that it was important for the school committee and for people to actually see the students' perspective of what they're working on and why it's important to them. So I think, Christina, are you starting? So Christina Noche, who is our curriculum director at both of our elementary schools, will start the event.
Thank you for having us on
People at home can.
so everyone can tune in. Thank you for having us. Tonight we're sharing with you what life science looks like from kindergarten through grade 12. So first I'd like to invite up Colin and Ben. We've got Ben Dahlstedt and Colin Doyle. Come sit right up at the table with us. All right, guys. And we focused with them on our new frameworks this year.
Today we're talking about caterpillars and butterflies. The caterpillar life cycle is of eggs, a caterpillar, a chrysalis, also known as a pupa, and a butterfly. This is a model that I made. Both of us made a pasta their cycle, and we used 4 different types of pastas. One for the eggs, one for the caterpillar, one for the chrysalis, and one for the butterfly. And this is Ben's. I also made a life cycle of a butterfly in words and pictures. And it has 6 columns, and each column tells about the different life cycle of a butterfly. Not life cycle, but sort of picture. We also, a few weeks ago, we got caterpillars, and they hatched from eggs before we got them, and we did 3 reports, and in each one we got a cup and wrote down and drew a picture. And when all of our chrysalises some of our caterpillars turned into chrysalises, we hung them up on this little cage. And in some classes they wrote different reports on butterflies and studied butterflies at their house, and some drew pictures and some wrote little notes. And me and Colin went on a field trip, and it was to a butterfly museum, and we saw the glass-winged butterfly, the blue morpho butterfly, and some of the other really cool butterflies. And some butterflies landed on people. And we also saw the world's biggest moth, and it is the galactic moth. And we also saw some cocoons, which are kind of like chrysalises, but they are for moths.
Good job, guys. Next, from the middle school, we're going to have Molly McCarthy and Chris Collins tell you a little bit about the life science that they found in middle school.
Hi, I'm Molly McCarthy. I'm currently in 7th grade, but last year I was in Miss Colonna's 6th grade science class. In elementary school, we learned about animals, but once we hit middle school, we learned that animals are more than just flesh and bones. With Miss Colonna, we did an extensive unit on cells. This unit was about the cell theory, parts of cells, and multicellular organisms versus single-celled organisms.
Hi, I'm Chris Collins. I am also in 7th grade and had Ms. Colonna for science. We will be going over the cells unit we learned. This is some of the curriculum we learned to provide evidence that organisms, unicellular and multicellular, are made of cells.
One of the first things that we studied in this unit were the 3 parts of the cell theory. We learned that a German scientist named Schleiden stated that plants are made of cells, and only a year later, another scientist named Schwann added on to it, saying that all animals are made of cells. Another great discovery was made 17 years later by a German doctor known as Virchow. He said that all cells are made from existing cells. With the help of these 3 scientists and more, they helped to create the 3 parts of the cell theory. The 3 parts of the cell theory are that all living things are made of cells, cells are the basic units of all living things, and all cells come from existing cells.
Plant and animal cells may seem similar, but they actually have a lot of differences, such as organs and shapes. This is a poster we made labeling the parts of the cell, all hand-drawn.
And some of the major parts of the cells that we studied were the nucleus, the mitochondria, the cell membrane and cell wall, the chloroplast, the vacuoles, the endoplasmic reticulums, the cytoplasms, ribosomes, and also the lysosomes.
These are cell hats that we made in 6th grade out of paper plates. We wrote facts on the back and a drawing on the front, differing from plant and animal cells.
These are pictures of all of us once everyone drew theirs. We were split into parts of an animal cell, and then the rest of the class was split into parts of a plant cell, and everyone contributed to make the cell that we needed to function.
These extra credit projects are just one of the many we did in 6th grade. You can see students have many edible and 3D cells all by themselves.
One of the other things that we studied were the differences between single-celled and multi-celled organisms, and even though the two different organisms differ greatly, their cells perform some of the same jobs. They can help you protect yourself, move, and get food in some way. And before we even started on the unit of cells, we practiced using a microscope correctly and using its functions to our advantage. This helped when we began to study some of the much smaller unicellular organisms. And the main parts of the compound microscope are the objective lenses, the focus knob, the eyepiece, the stage, the light source. Yep, that's it.
This is the Protis lab that we did. We looked at many forms of bacteria, algae, and other specimens. This was one of the many safe and fun labs we did. Thank you for having us here.
Next up is 3 students from the high school. Have a good night.
Okay, next up we have Joe Fabrizio, Annie Olson, and David Blake from the high school, and they are here from Mr. Billings' honors biology class. One of the three, you want to run the slide?
Sure. Thank you.
These are the lit learning standards that are used in the science that we're learning. We're going to talk about the levels of organization, which are biosphere, biome, ecosystem, community, population, organism, organ system, organ, tissue, cell, and molecule, and also mnemonic devices, and writing across the curriculum and linking learning standards.
The biosphere is the most outer portion of the Earth that is able to support life, and biomes are the different sections divided up from the biosphere relative to temperature and climate of where different forms of life live.
The ecosystem is the abiotic, which are the non-living things, and the biotic, which are the living things. And the community is only the biotic things that live in a general area.
The population is the amount of a certain species that lives in a certain area.
The levels of structural organization start with the organism, then goes into the organ systems, organs, tissue, then cells, and then atoms or molecules.
So this is one of the mnemonic devices This is one of the mnemonic devices we use. It's Orangutan Queens Have Pretty Toes, which stands for Observe, Hypothesize, Question, Predict, and Test. And this is one more that stands for the level of organization. This is just one more.
So we do some writing and so for science articles. We did 3 science articles for a summer assignment, and we recently just turned in another science article, and we had to summarize it and then explain how it would relate to biology or to relate back to what science we're learning in class.
Much like in middle school, we're learning food webs, but this time much more in depth, like all possible scenarios of different ways that energy travels. For instance, like as in some of the pictures, a crab could eat a turtle while it's a baby, but then later, if the turtle were to grow up, then the turtle would be eating the crab, and just all different possible scenarios.
So now we're starting to apply math, like algebraic equations, to these populations using life tables to examine natality, which is like death, and mortality, which is living, rates in different flora and fauna. And these are just some examples of graphs that we'll be using.
And these are the citations for the images used in the slide.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So Scott and Katie and Christina, do you want to come to the table in case there are any questions? Are there any questions?
I know.
I just actually want to thank the students and compliment them. I know we said this a lot last year, but this is not easy to do, and we recognize that, and we certainly appreciate it. And for the teachers, just being able to see how everything links together, it's a great display for us, and I appreciate it.
Right. I just to echo it. I am always pleasantly surprised at how at ease the students are and how fluently they speak about what they're here to talk about. You know, it shows how well they understand it, as well as that they practice it and take it seriously. So we appreciate the effort that's put in. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys want to go home and work on your homework, you're welcome to. Next on our agenda is the Superintendent's Award, so I'll hand it to the Superintendent.
So tonight, I am going to be awarding the Superintendent's Award to Meryl Braconia. I am especially excited about this evening, as I've known Meryl since she was a student at Summer Street School, and I think that this is a really great award for her. I will tell you, in talking, you all can come forward if you would like, the Braconias. In talking with the faculty at Linfield High School, one of the things, Meryl, that I realized is that one of the things that has remained constant about you since your elementary days is that not only has your intellect gotten you here, but it's really your work ethic, your determination, and your grit to really do well. That really has gotten you to this place today. It has made you successful. Everything, all the effort that you've put into your work. I have found out about you, since I've lost track of you since elementary school, that you are a decorated varsity athlete. Meryl plays both on the soccer and the lacrosse teams. She has a passion for music and the arts. One of the teachers described you as an absolute bulldog in the classroom, meaning that you give it your all. And I think that we all respect that. One of your teachers called you a true Renaissance woman and said that you are a committed and key player to not only the athletics at Linfield High School, but also the choral and music programs. Mr. and Mrs. Braconia, I was told that Meryl's merits as a person far outweigh all of the wonderful things that she has accomplished. This is a direct quote. Her character is impeccable, and Linfield High School is a much better place for the simple reason that she has walked the halls. So, Meryl, congratulations to you, and Mr. and Mrs. Braconia, congratulations to you.
I'll take that, sorry. Thank you.
I know. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. So you're right, that is like one of the best parts of the job, is to recognize the great students that we have in Linfield. So,
Okay. All right. Now on to the MCAS results.
so we have presenting from the elementary schools tonight. We have our curriculum directors. So we have Maureen Fennessy, curriculum director of English Language Arts and Social Studies, and we have Christina Noche, curriculum director of Science and Math.
Good evening, and thank you for having us tonight. The scores in math have remained consistent over the past few years, and we're really thrilled with the work that the teachers and the students have been doing in that area. Our goal, as I've mentioned before, is to continually reflect on the teaching practices and the frameworks in order to teach the students the standards to mastery. The third and fourth grade teachers this year are really focusing on the critical thinking component of the new frameworks. We're really noticing that the questions have really ratcheted up in each of those areas. So they're really looking at each of the standards and how it's being taught, and really looking at every way that they can kind of flip it and turn it so that they can think about, all the different components of it, and that it's understood, at a base level and then a very deep level by asking it in different ways. The kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers have been working very hard on number sense and numeracy. I mentioned last year at the end of the year with the professional development presentation that we were lucky to have Mahesh Sharma come last year. We are very excited that he's coming again next week. He will be with us on Tuesday and Wednesday. He'll be spending all day with us on Tuesday talking with kindergarten through grade 3 about building number sense and numeracy. And then he'll be doing model lessons in each of those classrooms the following day, followed by a question and answer session for those teachers. So the teachers are very excited about it, and I am beyond excited to have him with us and bring us to that next level where he can actually model what he's taught us with our students, and we can actually ask questions about things that we've been doing and thinking about and what we've seen as well. We just finished our first round of assessment meetings for grade 1 and 2, and I have to say that the feedback that I got from both of those grade levels about the kids coming into them because of this work that we've been doing the past 2 years in number sense and numeracy was very exciting to hear that they're really noticing a difference in those kids. I'm very excited to see that go up all the way through the grades as well. Again, really just looking at constantly adapting based on the kids who are sitting in front of us, really knowing each of our learners, and that's a big piece, of course, of our assessment meetings, and how we can take those math standards that we now are really knowing and understanding and teach it to those students. One little piece of data that I wanted to share with you, looking closely at the data in different ways of the MCAS, I was able to run the bar graphs for all the different populations, and it was exciting to see that actually looking at the advanced and proficient bar graphs for grade 3 specifically, and for the Title I population, for the grade 3 special ed population, and the Title I population has continually increased in the last 3 years. So I think that that's a very exciting piece to see that we're really hitting those learners, and now we're really looking to see how we can take our learners who are already in proficient and move them to advanced as well.
Hi. As far as language arts, we're pleased with the results and the way the data has remained consistent in many areas. The areas that we're really highlighting are the same areas that we've been discussing for the past few years. What is different about that is we're noticing, as Christina had just mentioned, where we just finished our first round of assessment meetings for two primary grades, and we're having the same kinds of conversations about the same areas, being higher level comprehension with key ideas and details, being able to answer open and short response questions, not so much the written piece, but also that, again, that higher level comprehension. Part of our school improvement plan this year, that you heard about a few weeks back, was, and our ELA goal is to administer a new benchmark assessment system which will assess a student's individual reading level. And we feel that that's important and could meet the need we have here for some of the things that are bulleted out, because we'll be able to really take a very close look at each child's individual reading at that higher level comprehension that we haven't in the past. We have individual reading conferences with students, but we're really feeling that this assessment tool, which will be used from kindergarten through 4th grade, including our special education teachers, will really help us zero in on that upper level comprehension instruction, as well as, and even more importantly, the overall engagement and motivation for our young readers. Culturally, we don't see people picking up books as much as we have in the past, and we know that with vocabulary, we've been doing a lot of work district-wide with vocabulary, with instructional strategies, but the research clearly shows that in order to build a vocabulary, a robust vocabulary, it's the amount of time reading. So we really need to be thinking how we're going to build capacity with our readers and with that engagement and motivation, not only in the school setting, but also at the home. So as we move forward with some of our plans, I look forward to sharing with them with you. But at this point in time, I'm wondering if you have any questions about the information that was shared in the packets.
I just want to comment, clearly, the consistency shows you guys, doing a great job. And I guess my only question, out of curiosity mostly, we talk about assessments an awful lot. So I'm just curious, in the day of a student, a typical 3rd grader, let's say, what does that look like, in, let's say, a month's time? How many assessments are we talking about? How long do the assessments take? Is there a variety? We use the word a lot, and I just don't have a real clear picture of what it looks like.
Sure.
Do you want me to? I'll start with math. Okay. I would say for a 3rd grader, my interim assessments are every 6 weeks, and they're just 10 questions. They're really just assessing the mastery standards, and we try to have them pretty quick with just those 10 questions. Depending on the grade level, 3rd grade would be some more multiple choice, some more word problems in there, but probably able to do it in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And they also do unit assessments as well. In addition to that, of course, the teachers are constantly assessing. They're using dipstick assessments every day. They're doing tickets to leave at the end of every lesson in order to actually gauge their lessons for the next day. But the students don't actually realize they're actually being assessed at that point. It's just part of their daily practice, but it's informing our instruction.
As far as with language arts, September is absolutely an assessment-heavy month, especially for a 3rd grader, because they would be involved with assessments at an individual level. They'd be part of a group reading assessment, which is a standardized test. There'd also be some of the assessments are part of the natural work that's happening within the classroom. So we're collecting data, but it may not be presented differently for the students, as far as looking for application of daily work with some skills that they're showing mastery and other levels. But then as we have our data assessment meetings, we make decisions as far as instructional planning within the classrooms with that information, and students that would be receiving additional supports. But throughout the year, those assessments take the role of more of a progress monitoring, seeing if everyone's making progress along. So we're not targeting just one group of students, but at our data assessment meetings, being able to talk about this was our, with our universal screening, here was our beginning of the year data, and is everyone making the anticipated progress and growth that we would expect to have. But I'm sure if you were to ask any 3rd grader, they would tell you that there seems to be a lot of tests in September. And they're often, Mrs. Fennessy, you made us do this. I say, you have to point the finger at someone, right. I guess.
It's us.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get a snapshot on that. That's a good idea. Jamie, did you have a question?
Real quick, I know the results are, in some cases, just amazing. And we clearly have high-performing schools, so that's a credit to everyone here. So I balance I don't want to look at each individual number, and yet I also don't want to get complacent where we see little drops here and there that add up to big drops over the course of time. There was a little bit of consistency in terms of the advanced proficient going down from year to year.
Yeah.
In math and ELA in both third and fourth grade. And the state, I know, stayed pretty flat in that area. Are you seeing anything that is reflective in the curriculum? Is it just coincidence? Is it, what's your take on it?
I think of what I just, had spoke to. We're really having conversations about what could we do differently? Why are, the good thing is we're not having different areas of weakness. I mean, there has to be some area of weakness, and to be honest, sometimes when I'm saying with, vocabulary acquisition, that comes down to one question. Right. And we're really not going to be framing our instructional model around one MCAS question, but really looking at patterns over time and seeing, we're seeing that pattern, that particular standards always are in our weaker areas. How can we bump this up? And looking at research-based instruction around it. And that's why we're adding this new assessment tool to try to address it at the elementary level, because we know that we want the children to be able to perform what they're capable of.
And those are dips that we've noticed as well, that we're constantly, as soon as we see the data, we look at, oh my goodness, I can't believe that, that dark blue bar is going down again. What do we need to do? So we're really thinking about that all the time and looking at all of our learners to see how we can get more of those students in the advanced category.
Maureen, just something that you said in your presentation that caught my attention about the being a drop off in reading and books and so on and so forth. Any insight into why that's happening?
It would have been great to have you at our meetings this week because we really brainstormed and talked about it. A lot of it is things that are beyond our control. I mean, there's a cultural shift as far as the amount of screen time versus authentic conversations in homes, but we can't control that.
Yep.
I've shared with teams of teachers this week that I've really never been a fan of some of the reading incentive programs, read a book and get a sticker. I just felt that some of them were a bit contrived, and did it really make a difference? But I've reached out to colleagues in neighboring communities and in similar roles to see, have they tried something that worked? Because we can't just say that, people don't read anymore. We have to try to build capacity within our schools and try to make that connection with home. So that's definitely something that the teachers were excited about, and trying to find something that's authentic. Because there are lots, like I said, lots of canned programs, Win a Pizza or something like that. But I don't think they've shown that they really sustain engagement and motivation as readers. So we're thinking about that and having those conversations.
Is there, I know years ago, it was a former colleague on the school committee used to say, education doesn't stop when the kid walks out the door, and it doesn't begin when the kid walks in the door. Is it a question of the district really going back and, they emphasize it at open house at 20 minutes every night. Occasionally comes in from the classroom teacher. Is it really, could part of it be a recommitment from the administration and the teachers and so on to really drive that home? And is it a question of really driving it, emphasizing that with the parents, that they have to get that 20 minutes done? And is it, are we failing there, perhaps, that we're not emphasizing it enough?
It is an expectation that the 20 minutes of reading a night is part of the homework. It's the accountability piece that can be very tricky, because where's the account? We've talked about how to do different things. We've had some teachers at 3rd and 4th grade that have moved away from collecting a reading log, because anyone can sign or check off on a reading log. We're not seeing the difference with the vocabulary, with the conversations with our students. Even going into primary classrooms and asking what was the best book, what's their favorite book, or what book did you hear last night. there are very few hands that go up in our kindergarten programs, which has been, but I always come in and say, well, we need to read more. We need to make an emphasis for this. But it's really something that we want to, like I mentioned, we're trying to problem solve, we're trying to make a plan to get something that would create some excitement, and not just at the elementary school, but really district-wide, town-wide. I know there has been places where they have had town reads and things like that, but I just want to know, after those events have occurred, have they sustained? Because I know a lot of effort goes into planning and orchestrating, but is the end result what they want? So we'll be working on something, but we're not there yet.
And then just one more follow-up. In each of the school improvement plans, I think across the district, there was an emphasis on vocabulary, if I remember correctly. Is that emphasis a direct result of, like, the reading really falling off?
Yes. I mean, and that was a recommendation that came from the district-wide ELA review committee. That was something that came out of surveys from teachers as far as students presenting. It came from analyzing MCAS data, SAT scores. It was something that really stood out as something that was the number one action item to be addressed from pre-K to 12th grade. And that's not just in Linfield, that's really something that we see at the state level, at the national level, the discussion around vocabulary. And like I had mentioned before, we can talk about instructional strategies, we can put things in place, but the research shows that it's increased reading that will increase vocabulary. So we have some work to do and some problem solving, but we're excited to reach out to the greater community to try to address this.
I mean, my last comment in the whole situation would be, you can brainstorm in your building as much as you want, but if there's nothing happening at home, I understand that. But I guess this is a message to the community. If there's nothing happening at home, then we can't help, because we could give you all the resources in the world, but if it's not getting re-emphasized at home, then there's not going to be success. So, good luck to you on trying to solve that problem.
But if we can give you the resources, you have to let us know. I think it's great that you recognized, for as wonderful as 21st century learning is, the unintended consequences that you're competing with device-driven screen time, and you do recognize that. I think the good news might be that one of the reasons I think we shifted to informational text, kind of going away from narrative so much, is that a lot of the information, a lot of the what students are accessing via internet and World Wide Web is actually more informational text. So I guess that's a good thing, but you're still competing with that, the device-driven screen time, absolutely. So if you do come up with some ideas and strategies, then certainly let us know, and if we can support that with any resources we can provide, absolutely we will. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Christina. Next, we have Stephen Ralston will come to the podium with both of his curriculum directors, Katie Ambrose and Katie Robertson.
You all set?
Are you comfortable up there, Stephen?
This is great.
I think we've been.
Pull this in front so you can hear it a little better. I'm pleased to report the 2015 MCAS results for the Linfield Middle School. On either side of me, I have Katie Ambrose, and who is our STEM director, and Kate Robertson, who is our ELA Humanities and Social Studies director. And I certainly thank them for being here and certainly helping with all the work that they do for their respective departments. I'd like to share briefly, not going through all of the numbers, but overall we are quite pleased with our results this year on our MCAS. Our ELA scores in grades 7 and 8, over 90% of the students were advanced proficient, 87% of our 6th graders and 83% of our 5th graders. Looking at just we're not always, we look at MCAS improvement in two directions. One, certainly we want each class to outperform the class before them, but then we also look carefully on how a class progresses from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8. And in ELA, our recent 8th graders, 93% advanced proficient compared to 92%, 86%, and 85% as you go down to grades 7, 6, and 5 for that same group of students, that same cohort. So we're certainly pleased with that. In mathematics, our 8th graders were at 75% advanced proficient, grade 7, 81% advanced proficient, grade 6, 79%, and grade 5, 82% advanced proficient. Looking at that group of outgoing 8th graders at 75% advanced proficient, they did have a dip when they were in grade 7 at 62, but prior to that 71 and 69, so they have gone up 6% over the course of their time at the middle school. Looking at our science scores, certainly our science scores numerically are not near the math or the ELA scores. You'll see that with us, and you'll also see that statewide. However, our 8th grade did increase 4%, and our 5th grade was up 2%. Again, that combined advanced proficient. Looking into our action plan moving forward, I'll start with ELA and just highlight a few things, and I know that you have the full report in front of you. With English, what I'd like to note is that a lot of the things that we're doing in English we're also dovetailing with social studies and humanities. There's quite a collaboration, certainly with Kate leading both departments, but just the nature of the social studies and the humanities, where there's a focus on reading comprehension, note-taking, nonfiction, citing information and details from the text to back up your argument, to back up your analysis. So that's something that around the reading comprehension as well as the writing that we're really trying to expand upon in the social studies, in addition to what we've been doing traditionally in the ELA classrooms. We have also we have 5 comprehension coaches. These are trained teachers who are going to be leading some of our professional development on review strategies and providing feedback with the application of some of our literacy routines, as I mentioned in our school improvement plan as well as last year. Some of our keys to literacy applications that we have trained our entire faculty on. We want to make sure that we keep that momentum going and expand that as much as we can. So that's certainly a goal of ours, not to lose any of that initial momentum, and so far that's been paying off quite well. You see a lot of these strategies across different disciplines and different grade levels. We also have 3 English or ELA tutors who will be providing reading and writing support for small groups of students across all grade levels, 5 through 8. They'll be collaborating with teachers, they'll have pull-out sessions, and at times they will be in the classroom supporting in the moment as well. As Maureen alluded to, we're also going to be, as one of our school improvement plan goals, with a big focus on the vocabulary instruction, as we spoke to a couple weeks ago with vocabulary. In mathematics, some of our key things that we're working on, some of the things we're continuing to work on, we're using our Atlas online mapping program to continually revising, adding layers to our curriculum as far as whether it's vocabulary, whether it's differentiation, assessments, and this work is ongoing, not just in math, but in all subjects. We're also using our Keys to Literacy components in the math lessons. We have small group tutorials for mathematics, not just with our 3 tutors, but also
We have most of our special ed teachers are leading math tutorials as well. Those have been in place for many years, certainly expanded upon with the recent addition of tutors. So we're able to service more students across all grades with those small group interventions. Certainly the process for what topics are covered, reviewed, maybe retaught in a different manner. That's all database based on our assessments and the observations from the tutors and the classroom teachers. We continue to use our interim assessments. I know the previous group up here was talking about those assessments as well. Small, periodic, every 6 weeks, snapshots of where the kids are at, and then certainly analyzing that data and what type of interventions, what is our plan moving forward to support that. Looking into science, last year, I believe, across all 4 grades, the science teachers, it wasn't the identical goal, but each grade level had a particular SMART goal or SMART goals that were focused on writing and science, whether it's open response type questions. A lot of the goals were focused on analysis, looking at data, making your conclusion, drawing conclusions from the data from a standpoint, and we did that. We embedded this in the work that we already do with lab reports. So the kids, will do activities, experiments, write up the lab reports, and really looking very carefully at the conclusion section of that lab report. The materials section, the procedure section, those in many cases might be provided, but that conclusion piece and drawing, looking at your data, looking at your graphs, looking at your, your direct observations throughout the experiment, and what are you able to take forward in that skill, that process of making a conclusion, what you saw, what you did not see, was your hypothesis supported, unsupported, and then, what further questions might you have, really trying to get more into a focus on the writing, a focus on the analysis, and those science skills that are going to travel with you, whether you're talking about life science or earth and space science or physical science, even getting into the engineering. So that conclusion piece, observations, inferences, and the writing about that expression of it is something that we're really continuing focusing on for this year. Looking as far as contributing factors, last year we put an awful lot of things in place that we didn't have in place, and I constantly will remind myself that, here we are the first week in October. We're just a year and a month into our new middle school schedule with the teaming in grade 7 and 8, the additional time for math and science in grade 7 and 8. In grade 7 we used to have a reading and language arts class. That is just a single ELA class, so there may not be as much direct English time in grade 7 as we had before. One thing, with the NGSS science standards, I had mentioned before how we've tried within our science curricula, grades 5 through 8, to make sure that we're very, as we transition, moving some topics from grade to grade, that we have a 2 or 3 year plan, and we're almost at the conclusion of that, making sure that students don't have gaps or repetition as far as the science content, something that may have been taught in grade 6, now it may be in 7, or something in 8 may be in 7, or vice versa. One thing that kind of snuck up and bit us a little bit last year, there was so we did this across our science classes, 5 through 8, but as you recall, STEM used to only be a grade 8 class. Now we've taken the STEM curriculum and spread it across all 4 grades. Well, there was a bridge question, engineering question on the MCAS, 8th grade MCAS, around bridge design, bridge construction, and it was a big question, 4-point open response questions. Our students didn't do as well as we liked on that, and in looking at that, those 8th graders last year did not have the bridge piece. They have it this year because that got moved to grade 7, and within the STEM course, we weren't able to hit all of those standards. So that was just a case where we had a little bit of a dip. One question, it was a big one, and it got us. So guilty on that. But for the most part, we're pleased with our results. We've either held steady or gone up slightly, and we're really hoping that all of these interventions, the schedule, the interventions, the increased tutorials, the assessments, all these things we've been putting in place the last year or two are going to continue to pay dividends, and we're certainly moving in the right direction. So at this point, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Steve, thanks. Thanks for being here. We've always said, we've maintained that MCAS skills and knowledge are cumulative and sequential. There's a lot of scaffolding. And that stands the test of time when you look at your 5th grade cohort of 212, and then you look at those same students in 2015, particularly for ELA and math. But we've maintained a good percentage of kids in advanced proficient. When you look at the science, it is rather glaring.
Yes.
77% of those 5th graders in 212 were advanced proficient, and by 8th grade, by the time that cohort was in 8th grade, we lost about 35 to 40 kids out of advanced proficient and needs improvement. So I'm looking at, but I'm glad you're recognizing that and you're really focusing on that. I'm looking at the English tutors. Is there often a focus on science content in their tutoring, during the tutoring?
We have not really focused that much on the science content, a little bit here and there, but maybe not as much, as we could with that.
Is that a thought?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jamie, you want to go? I just, wanted to ask about the science and technology question exam as well. Just kind of a general question. Maybe you don't have the answer to it, but on all of our charts here, speaking generally, the blue side is heavier than the red side. They vary in different ways, but in the sciences, it seems like the two bars in the front or in the middle are kind of neck and neck, and the outer edges are small. And looking at the state percentages as well, it's not unique to Linfield Middle School.
Right.
I'm just curious if there's discussion as to why that's happening. I mean, I agree that the fact that we've now spread the STEM program out to touch the students for more years is clearly to me seems like a great solution and will be helpful. But I'm just curious about it's just so different. The graph looks so different. Clearly there's something going on that
yeah,
is
and it's
that.
it was funny because I was just at a workshop last week with many other middle school administrators, and specifically talking about science. And many schools, the NGSS, when the new standards came about, they are scrambling to shift around things within their science curriculum, because a lot of middle schools had the classic life science in grade 7, physical science in grade 8, and now they're trying to go more of a spiral approach. So an entire strand might be revisited more frequently, or actually closer to that 8th grade test. We also got into a discussion around to what extent, and this is a terrible word, but to what extent you might cram for that 5th grade science test, the 5th grade science exam, or the 8th grade science exam, because it spans multiple years of content. And the one thing with the NGSS is it's becoming more and more not content focused, because if you look at all the things, I was talking with some science teachers today, all the things that we're teaching in the topics, all the topics we're teaching in grade 8 are majors in college, that people study for 4+ years just on that one particular topic. And, you don't want the science to become so much of a survey where it's a mile wide and an inch deep. But the NGSS, the way it's designed, is there's going to be some growing pains with it, but it's a lot more focused on process and science skills, graph interpretation, drawing conclusions. So I think some of this work that we're doing here is going to help, when you are presented with a scenario and maybe a couple images or a graph or a table, and being able to parse out, what is this really telling us? And really having some of those skills down, because as the kids then hit high school, that's when they're going to get into the biology, the chemistry, the physics, and really get more into the content. And it's something that we struggle with. And our struggle is not uncommon to other middle schools around the Commonwealth with this. And as a former science person, I see the scores and it's like I cringe, because I want them to be certainly up with the other subjects.
And Stephen, we've also had discussions at the administrative level and with the curriculum directors that the work that's being focused on at the elementary schools now in science is certainly going to help your scores in terms of building that consistent foundation K-4, so you're not cramming in grade 5. So I think that we'll see that come up as well as the intensity and rigor in the elementary school gets brought up a little bit.
Can I just add one thing? Also, with the math and ELA, they're used to taking an MCAS every year from 3rd grade, but with the science, it's only the 5th and the 8th. So it's also that they're not exposed to taking a science MCAS every year. So that could also be a contributing factor, that they're just not used to, seeing those questions on a, formal assessment like that every year, as they are with the math and the ELA.
Thank you. Jamie?
Steve, you mentioned it earlier. Last year was the first year of the new schedule, and obviously that's not it's not a be-all, end-all, and it's not going to solve everything. But part of the intent is to see those results trickle down into things like MCAS, and results are a little bit better, mostly flat, and I'm hearing you say that it's the first year and it was a big adjustment, and we're getting there. Anecdotally, do you feel like the schedule is still the right plan, and are we going to start to see that over these results?
Absolutely.
Over time?
I mean, and what I see in the classroom, and also in talking with the teachers, being able to cover things in a deeper fashion. Especially the 7th and 8th grade teachers who have never had a 54-minute period. Everything was a 45-minute block. They just, whether it's a science lab or now we've got a little bit more time at the end to get into some of the math practice problems before you walk out the door and then, practice those on your own. Having more time in the English classrooms for the Socratic seminar discussions, to have some of the writing labs that we're doing within the classroom, and certainly our our upper school. We're absolutely, I think, I've not heard anything but wonderful things on that, and it's just a year and a month, and I fully confident that things are going to continue to improve on that.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Kevin Sear from the high school, assistant principal. He will be reporting out on the high school scores.
Good evening. Once again, it's my pleasure to present the high school MCAS scores. Our ELA, biology, and math. It's quite impressive across the board. when you look at advanced and proficiency in all subject areas. We certainly share a desire for continuous improvement, although the scores are certainly a credit to the folks behind me. I say this every year. I mean, from elementary through the middle school years, the work that the staff does and the students and the faculty prepare our students well. I have the easy job. I put the schedule together, but certainly it's years upon years of building the framework and for success. At the high school, I'd like to thank our high school leadership team. Their flexibility and their support throughout the process allowed me to take on a number of other duties during MCAS administration. It's really a well-oiled machine. Especially like to thank Mary Ellen Annabelli, who's here tonight as the ELA Department Chairperson, Mary Lou Sambatakis, Math Department Chairperson, and Scott Gordon for Science. And, they're truly the ones that they're in the trenches with data analysis, curriculum and instruction. They're making those changes as we go. So kudos to all of them. I'd also like to thank the parents and the school committee for your continued support as well. So all grade 10 students participated in the ELA and math component of the MCAS, and grade 9 was once again the biology examination. I shared with you the bar graphs for the 3 subject areas. As I mentioned, it's quite impressive the number of students that are still scoring advanced and proficient in all subject areas. 98% of our students scored at advanced and proficient in ELA, 90% in biology, and 95% in math. It's certainly imperative that we keep certain protocols and routines in place for continuous improvement, but I really want to highlight some of the collaborative work that's been taking place as we continue to move forward in a positive direction. With ELA, we'll continue to work on developing educational proficiency plans, making sure that any student that scores needs improvement, and this pertains to math as well, that we're putting the necessary supports in place so that they are successful before they graduate high school. The MCAS evening program continues to show success for those students that enroll in the program. So once again, we encourage parents to make sure if your son or daughter is invited into that program, that you participate. It's taught by our teachers, and it's not unusual for our students to actually score advanced with the support of those teachers in that program. So that's been a real credit. That typically, as I've said in the past, that leads right up to the examination in all subject areas, the 6 weeks, a couple nights a week, where they're getting ongoing support from our experts in the classroom. Scheduling at-risk students into our MCAS support class during the school day. This applies to ELA and math as well, those 2 content areas, we continue to run the support classes during the school day. And really highlighting some of the weaknesses, those areas that we need to focus on, reviewing practice questions, and so just supporting the curriculum for those students. And that's typically twice a cycle in terms of just additional support outside of the content area, outside of their instruction, whether it be in the ELA class or the math class. Gives a nice boost there. With biology, incorporating MCAS-based review materials into the classes, including topic-specific practice tests using the former MCAS questions. So again, based on the data analysis, based on the collaborative work, making sure that we're implementing that into the classroom. The common midterm examination, although that was put in place a few years ago, I think if you look at the work now that we're doing with DDMs, I think collaborative assessments, common assessments, those are not going away. I think we're doing a much better job. That was a real focus at the high school last year. That really forces the collaboration with staff. And I think that all stakeholders deserve that consistency in the classroom, and that we do all truly need to be on the same page, paying attention to the standards. So it's not just about MCAS, it's about what we're doing across the board when I talk about common assessments, and the DDM work has really informed that. And also our work with our 21st century expectations and making sure that students are achieving proficiency across those expectations. Of course, the revised professional development model has provided us the time to really spend more time on the assessments and the item analysis, and like I said, the collaboration with regards to assessments. With biology, the technology-based review program, the first 5, developed by Scott Gordon, that continues to be used in preparation for the test. It's kind of similar to like the problem of the day in math. It's more of an activator in the classroom. But an activator in the sense of let's pay attention to those areas where we really need to drive home to students and make sure that they have the skills necessary to be successful, not only on the test but toward graduation and beyond. Mathematics, scheduling students enrolled in Math Connections into our MCAS prep class. Those 2 curriculums work hand in hand. So if you're on the MC track, reinforcing it into that MCAS support track that I spoke about that we offer in the ELA as well. So as we move forward, there's more continued discussion, more continued refinement based on item analysis, based on the results. In ELA, continuing to identify at-risk students. And I'll say this is one I think we're doing a better job of across the board. We've implemented a student support team at the high school. We actually meet once a cycle. So again, it's not just about MCAS, but it's looking at the data across the board, looking at those students that might be at risk in a number of content areas. So that's happening once a cycle. And being proactive, and just that really opens up those doors of communication across all the stakeholders. Working closely with the special education department. When I refer in the plan here as response to intervention, that's just another layer of support when we talk about those tiered supports for those students that are at risk. Whether it be the MCAS support class, whether it be the evening program, making sure that they are getting the reinforcement that they need. Continuing to work on the common student assessments, including focus on open response questions. I know ELA has done quite a bit of work with open response. In biology, I would like to highlight the continued analysis with the MCAS results by topic area. And I'd say with this particular one in the science department, they really led the way in terms of when we started the district determined measures last year with that assessment component in terms of data analysis. So they continue to break that down, but they've done a real nice job in that area. And any student that did not pass, making sure that they get the supports that they need and offering a retest and to get them through in science. Some contributing factors for the differential in MCAS results. As I mentioned in ELA, the scores remain consistent with 98% of our students scoring advanced and proficient. I would like to highlight that 82% scored advanced as opposed to 74% in 2014. So continuing to climb the ladder in the advanced category. The biology scores remain strong with 90% scoring advanced and proficient. Although this was a drop from 94% from the prior year, those score distributions remain strong and actually were identical to those in 2013. Mathematics, we saw an increase with 95% of our students scoring advanced and proficient as opposed to 89% in 2014. And again, we see a slight spike in the advanced category, the 69% as opposed to the 67%. With only a handful of students scoring in the needs improvement there as well. So we need to really continue to capitalize on the professional development time and really take a close look at, when you look at it, I don't want to focus tonight just on MCAS because it's much more than just MCAS, and looking at data and being proactive about identifying students that are at risk and collaborating to make sure that we're creating assessments that are authentic and meaningful, that are being implemented across the board in terms of consistency across the board. We need to continue to push the evening program. I know we bring it up every year. I don't think the attendance is always where we want it to be, but continuing to promote the evening program and making sure that students and encouraging parents to sign up those students that are at risk. Because again, the data speaks for itself in terms of the success rate of the evening program. So although the reasons behind the increase are hard to pinpoint, one thing I do know that whether it be the technology at the high school, whether it be the professional development, there is certainly a higher level of collaboration than I've ever seen before. We need to continue to work collaboratively and make sure that we're being open and honest in regards to communication and that we're involving all stakeholders and that this is a proactive process as opposed to a reactive process. So I thank you for listening, and I'll open up to any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Kevin. Assistant Principal Sia, you've mentioned a lot of things in terms of the cause behind the great scores. And you know what? It's culture. It's just a wonderful culture that you've developed there. So kudos to you and all the staff. Question about the at-risk students for ELA support class during the school day. Can you tell us a little more specifically what that looks like?
Yeah, so that's taught by a member of our English department. It meets twice a cycle. And they work real closely with not only the special educators, but their classroom teacher, along with the department head. So there's just an increased level of collaboration. There's an extra set of eyes and ears, on those kids. And I know Mary Ellen does a great job of monitoring that, and that if there is anyone that's fallen behind, she's pretty quick to jump in and to work with she'll work with the teachers, but I've also, she'll work with the kids and pull them out and provide some additional supports there as well. Yep.
Okay, well, no questions. You're off the hook. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice job to everyone. Okay. So thank you, everyone who just presented. I know it's a long presentation and a lot of information to cover, so we appreciate it. Okay, next, I'm sorry. Oh, Jamie, I'm sorry.
I actually just have a question for you, Jane, just for people who are watching, and I know there's interest. The accountability ratings have not come out yet, correct?
That's right. They're not out yet due to the park and MCAS. So as soon as they get out, we will share them with the school committee and we'll share them publicly.
And do we know when the decision on Park MCAS is going to come down from the state?
November 17th. November 17th. So, okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda are the school committee goals. For those who saw the meeting two meetings ago, back in September, Jane presented the district strategy, and part of that strategy are the school committee goals, along with the superintendent goals, the principal goals, and the school improvement plans. So we have 5 goals here, draft form. I won't go through every single sub-bullet, but I will read each bullet. For those watching or listening, the sub-bullets kind of break down how the goal will be achieved, including dates and steps along the way. So please feel free to comment on them or give your feedback, but I won't read through them so that everyone doesn't have to listen to each little detail. So number 1 is the school committee will promote communication with the community by ensuring that key initiatives are explained and included on the district webpage and in various media resources as needed. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that goal or any of the breakdown? Okay. So far, so good. Number 2, have successful collective bargaining agreements in place by the time the current agreements expire on August 31st, 2016. All good? The school committee will support and advocate for an educationally and financially responsible budget that supports the district's strategy through a transparent budget process. Any comments on dates or process? All right. The school committee will monitor the implementation of the district strategy. Good? It's too easy. School committee will ensure district policies remain current and aligned with the district vision. Okay. Any questions on timelines, or everyone's all good? Okay. Excellent. Good. No further discussion needed. Okay. We will vote on those at our next meeting. So now it's time for public participation. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Susie. A few things on my report tonight. I wanted to share out that there's a program at both of the elementary schools called Green City Growers that is up and running at Huckleberry Hill and Summer Street School. And for those of you who don't know what Green City Growers is, it is a company that is based out of Somerville, Mass. And they provide garden education programming for several local schools. They also perform planting and maintenance on the rooftop gardens at Whole Foods as well as Fenway Park. So they have come into both of our elementary schools and provided a continuous series of hands-on workshops with our third grade students. The program was piloted last year, Christina, at Summer Street School, and now it's rolled out at both of the elementary schools. So just some of the things that the students are learning throughout the course of the year, and I'll read these directly off my notes. Bugs and pests in the garden, which bugs are beneficial and which are truthfully pests. How to determine if bugs are in the garden and how to take care of them. Hands-on work in the garden, planting, weeding, and harvesting. What a cold frame is and how it works to protect the garden, the journey that our food takes from harvesting all the way to the grocery store. And those are just a few of the things that they learn. One of the things that we love about this program is, and you heard this series of words a couple of times tonight, it's very genuine and authentic. It is very real life. The students are working with the people from this company, and they are actually planting all this food, then they are harvesting it, and it's brought right into the kitchens, to the cafeterias at the elementary schools. And the cafeterias are turning it around and serving it to the students at lunch. I was at Huckleberry Hill doing some instructional rounds with Brian a couple of weeks ago, and I walked into the kitchen and they had all the harvest was there, and the one lunch had already taken place, and the women in the lunchroom told me that they served eggplant pizza to the first lunch, and it went like gangbusters. So I don't know about you, but I couldn't get my kids to eat eggplant when they were at that age, so I think that that's pretty impressive. Of course, none of this is free, and so the program is made possible thanks to funds raised through Whole Foods in Linfield, where 5% of their intake actually goes to the elementary schools for 1 day a year. And also the PTOs at both of the schools have just been terrific in also supporting it. So I just want to highlight that because I think it goes in beautifully with what's happening in science, and it's also genuine, authentic, in real life for the kids to be working in the gardens. Any questions or thoughts on that? Okay. So just a quick highlight about our Best Buddies program. We did have the Best Buddies run a couple of Sundays ago, and it was hugely successful. And I say that because the turnout that we had from your school district, Linfield Public Schools, was pretty amazing. We had a lot of the administration was there, running and walking. People came with their families. Teachers were there with their families. Our families from our district were there. We probably had, I would say, 30 to 40 people all told for the Linfield team kicking off Best Buddies for our school district. So I want to thank everyone who showed up on that Sunday. It was a beautiful day, and it was for a great cause. The other thing that I want to highlight is, as you know, our wrestling program was up for conversation in terms of possibly not being approved for our co-op again. And you know that we have a co-op with North Reading. Coach Stone was hugely concerned about this, and we did get word last week that our wrestling co-op has been approved for 2 more years. So you can imagine the athletes, the administration at the high school, the AD, and Coach Stone are all thrilled with that. The last thing I want to report on is something else that is going on at the elementary schools. Brian Bemis has established a buddies program with the Kevin O'Grady School. The Kevin O'Grady School is one of our collaborative schools through NEC. And they reached out to a bunch of people, and actually Brian was the first one to get back to them to say that he would love to have a buddies program with them. So what's going to happen is it's going to be basically a reversed inclusion program with a group of students from the Kevin O'Grady School that have some significant challenges. And those students are going to be coming to Huckleberry Hill periodically and will form friendships. Brian has decided that it will be a grade 2 cohort that will do this. And they will form friendships and relationships with students in grade 2, working on their socialization skills, possibly doing some arts and crafts, also possibly going to some of our enrichment programs with us. So Brian is really hoping to establish this as a second grade program that all students will take part in as they go through Huckleberry Hill School. So congratulations for Brian for getting that up and running, and I think that it will be wonderful for our students in Linfield. So any questions, thoughts, concerns on any of that?
Okay, thank you, Jane. So now we can move on to matters for action. And the first one is, the first ones, I should say, are the school improvement plans, which we usually approve each individually. So, does anyone want to take the motions?
Move to approve the preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school. Sorry.
One school at a time.
We are doing one school at a time.
Yes. Please.
Move to approve the preschool school improvement plan for 2015 and 2016 as presented to the committee.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Move to approve the elementary school improvement plans as presented to the committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Move to approve the middle school school improvement plan as presented to the committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unison that time.
Move to approve the high school school improvement plan as presented to the committee.
Is there a second?
I just want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Yep. On the high school, 2 elements of the high school school improvement plan, I think, will be policy changes, because they're going to change how the school operates, so that would be subject to our approval, correct?
Yes, so the way that we should probably do that then is that the school improvement plan should be known as a pilot for this year.
Correct.
And then depending on what happens with the school improvement plan at the high school this year, if the dual enrollment and the internship program are successful and we are going to implement it next year, we would have to vote on policy. You would have to vote on policy for that. So understanding that the school improvement plan that was presented to you 2 weeks ago is a pilot for the high school.
We did.
Not yet.
No.
No, there was a
No.
question.
We did.
Was there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
I actually am going to vote yay on that.
Okay.
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 Duly noted and recorded.
Okay, did we get through? We did. Okay, so the next matter of action is for the choral trip to New York City.
Move to approve the choral trip to New York from April 8th, 2016 through April 10th, 2016, subject to the committee receiving final itinerary and insurance binder when available.
Second.
All those in,
I'm wondering if that's second, I guess.
okay.
I'm wondering if that's even,
Okay, sorry.
it's like a contingent. I'm wondering if we should wait to even vote on it. Because if it's subject to final itinerary and the insurance binder, what if we object to the itinerary?
So why vote now?
My vote.
Okay.
My suggestion would
When
be,
do we
would probably be to the music department to say, go ahead and do whatever fundraising you need with the understanding that we will vote on it. But I'd be hesitant to put a motion forward if we don't even know what we're voting on.
And when might we anticipate the final itinerary in Sharon's binder? Do we have any?
You solidifying the itinerary now?
Okay. So soon.
Okay. So we could vote at the next meeting if the details are in our next packet. Okay. Okay. So we'll hold on that. Okay. And that is the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Have a great evening.